Hi, I'm Romy from Octopus Computers, and this is John, as you probably know him. So we work for Octopus Computers for people who don't know us. John is owning Octopus Computers. I am one of the nerds. So we help businesses of all size to get like the very best of their IT. So whether it's just support, cybersecurity, making tools like Google Workspace or Windows, Microsoft 365 really works for your team. So yeah, that's what we do. Today's session, so we are all about like working smarter and not harder with your Google Workspace. We'll cover like simple tips like Gmail, Drive, shine a light on some underrated apps you might not be using yet, but you're gonna find a lot about it. So some are very, very cool to know about. We're also going to speak about Gemini, which is the Google AI tool, and we're gonna try to help you like stay secure into Google and manage files and collaborate better with your colleagues. At the end, like John mentioned, we're gonna do a Q&A. So any question, put it in the Q&A section, which is somewhere in the three dot. If you press somewhere, you're gonna find the Q&A place.
Yep.
If you don't know, just put it in the chat. It's fine, but I guess we can answer everything at the end. John, let you present yourself and go for it.
Thank you very much. As said, I'm John. I am, for my sins, very Google qualified. I've got about 8 or so Google certificates on Google Workspace and Google Cloud,
Show off.
which means that even if I haven't put the answers in the slides, I probably do know them, or at least know where to find them. What I would say as we start going through Google is that those of you who have been on Google Workspace for a while know that the goalposts move all the time. Google is notorious for pulling apps which are in use, deploying new things, or rolling out features without telling anybody. So if I refer to something and we can't quite find it, or if you can't see it on your side, let me know. Chances are the button name has changed or it's moved around or something is a bit different. And it does happen. I've literally done it before where I've taken screenshots in the morning and in the afternoon when I've delivered the speech, it's moved. It isn't quite that frantic anymore, but there was a time when it was. So we'll try and go through these, and I'll try and talk slow enough that you can keep up. So we'll start with the really simple apps, and then we'll get towards the more complicated ones as we go through. Gmail and Google Drive are sort of the backbone of why people should be using Google Workspace or how they might be using it. In terms of like quick tips, kind of easy takeaways that people can have to try and get the most out of their Gmail, always work in browser would be my first advice if you aren't doing it for any of these Google apps. Install Google Chrome, sign in, and access all of the Google Suite through that browser. And that'll work across all your different operating systems on the different computers, so Apple and Windows. First thing to do in Gmail, once you've sorted out your preferences and your displays, is to create some email templates. There are probably emails that you send quite regularly, or at least have the same themes running through them. That could be an introduction to book a meeting, it could be a proposal or a pitch, it could be acknowledging receipt of an invoice like a remittance. And all of these things can be templates. You can store those templates and then you can reply using a template and it will auto-populate it all. It's part Gemini, part default stuff in Gmail. Well worth setting them up. Within Gmail and Google Drive, people don't make enough good use of the search function. It sounds obvious, but Google was a search engine first. There is no more powerful cloud software for doing it, and you can get quite refined into doing that as well. So I've put the little symbol here. It's the one with the toggles. That's the advanced search. You don't have to know any complicated coding for this. Google is very good at that piece. But when you are searching for a specific thing, you've got all the different toggles and filters there to make sure you find the right ones. If you're anything like me, your inbox is a couple of 100,000 emails, so being able to use an advanced search really does narrow it down to, I know what year it was in, it had an attachment, the subject mentioned or contained this word, and I'm pretty sure it came from Bob. And it just means that when I put all those together, I'm returned with 5 results as opposed to 500. And the same goes for using Google Drive. If you know it's a PDF you're looking for, not an image, you can start to narrow that search down as well. And the advanced search does exist in both, much quicker than browsing on Google Drive on your desktop. Use some keyboard shortcuts. No one knows them, it's worth saying. I will paste a big list of some easy ones in the chat. But for example, if you want to go to your inbox in Gmail, you can press G and I. If you want to go to your starred conversations, you can press G and S, and so on and so forth. There's loads of them. If you press R while the email is selected, it will load a reply. If you press A, it will do a reply to all. There's hundreds. But we'll put them on the chat. The other thing you can do if you want to find those, you can ask Gemini. We'll come back to Gemini quite a few times. But if you say, I always find that I just want to reply this certain way, how does it work? It will give you the codes and you can print them out, put them on a little sheet of paper next to your desk if you want to use those hot shortcuts. The other point, don't download files. It's quite rare that you actually need to download a file, especially because your files should be living in Google Drive anyway, which means they're on the cloud. You should only really be downloading them. I'm trying to give a good reason you would if they were not in Google format. It's fair to say that to get the most out of Workspace, you need to be working within the applications there. So as opposed to working in Microsoft Word, downloading and editing and uploading it, you can work in Google Docs and just keep the live version online. Google does have, of course, version control built into those, so you don't have to save iterative choices. You don't have to go, this is version 1, version 2, version 3. You can comment, collaborate, and build it up together. And also, whenever you are in a Google app, on the right-hand side, there is a bunch of integrated apps. In fact, at the bottom right of, say, Google Docs or Sheets, there's a little arrow pointing out, and that opens a sidebar. Within there, you can open Chat, Calendar, Drive, AI. You can add third-party apps as well, and you can also use Gemini at the top right to get the most out of these. So a couple of really quick and easy tips to sort of start you off, hopefully. And that's just the easy things. The plan is that we start running through some of these lesser known apps and teach you a little bit more about what's going on in Google. If we have forgotten any to include on the slides, I will shout them out at the end and we'll go through them directly. So obviously Gmail, Drive, Meet, Docs, Sheets, Calendar, Contacts, hopefully these things you're familiar with. To a lesser extent, there's Google Forms, there's Google Drawings, which no one ever uses. Google Contacts is underutilized, even though everyone knows what it is. There's lesser apps which aren't as good, like Google Sites. I won't talk about Google Sites at all because it's not very good. And there's Google Keep. There's separately as there's To Do as well. And then you've got things like Google App Sheet, App Script, and so on, once you're into kind of the enterprise grade stuff as well. So hopefully I can at least name one app that you've never heard of and show you how it works. That's the plan anyway. So Gmail itself, as we've talked about, does quite a lot. It's changed a lot over the years. Gmail itself, I think, is best positioned as a zero inbox application. That is to say, it works best by utilizing the search to find the things you're no longer working on. Your inbox can contain just the emails you need to do. Everything else can be filed. Now you can tag things and you can label them, which is how Google and Gmail does filing, as opposed to subfolders like in Outlook. But it does work quite nicely to instead just have a single folder called Done and know that you can search them, because you can always find them at the same time. Also within Gmail, chat is fully integrated. On the very left-hand side at the bottom, and on the left-hand side at the top, you can go into different spaces, different meeting rooms. You can open chat to talk directly with colleagues and people outside your organization. So if you are on Google Workspace, if you go to chat within Gmail in your browser, you type in my email address, you can harass me any time of day. I'll just ignore you. But you can chat with us directly if you have concerns. And anything you want to know about IT, it will pop up in our Gmail as well. It's a really great collaborative environment and something that, as I say, is underutilized. You can also, of course, use Gemini. Gemini is Google's AI within Gmail directly. If you write an email, you want it to fill in the words, make it look prettier, tidy it up, remove the swears. You can ask Gemini to do that for you as well, and it will tidy it all up. It's an easy way to do it. So that is Gmail. I won't spend too long on Gmail because hopefully you will live and breathe in it anyway. But I would say try and explore what I call the left-hand bar, that chat, spaces, meet. Try and get more to grips with those ones perhaps because they are the apps which are missed out. And the same is true on the Gmail app on iOS and Android as well. So if you open the app in there across the bottom, you'll see that chat's also integrated and you can use it to message directly. It is important to try and keep comms within a single environment. I know a lot of companies will use, say, Google Workspace or even Microsoft to a lesser extent, which we try not to talk about here. But they will be using Gmail and they will still be using WhatsApp to communicate everything internally. All you're doing there is creating a second point where data could be breached, leaked, and also not audited. So you can't refer back to it. It's not controlled by your organization. There's no requirement to do so, especially if the people you're speaking to are on Google. So where possible, try and leverage the tools that you've already got. You're paying for them anyway. It's the advantage of Google. Google Meet, I would love to demonstrate it because we were on it, but we aren't because out of habit we launched Teams because the last webinar we did was 365. Google Meet is my normal go-to for meeting solutions. It's fully integrated into calendars. You can launch a quick meeting, it's nice and easy, but also the transcription, live transcription and live subtitles are very good. And I would say much better than you actually get on other applications, even Zoom's. The recording is instant and Gemini is built in to take notes. So you don't have to invite Fireflies or Otter or any of these other AI takers. It's built in. You can do it with the three dots at the top, ask what it is, and it will automatically start taking the notes for you and email the note summary to everybody who's attended as well. There's lots of different ways. You can also have people dial in if they don't have access to computers. They can join my mobile or phone, and it'll automatically send out all the calendar invites as well. Final point on that, when we come onto calendars, when you do send out meeting invites, it can automatically, if they book, add a Google Meet event as well. And you can have them repeating in all the other pieces. So Google Meet and calendar are very integrated now, but it is very straightforward to add it. Hopefully you can see the video that's playing on the slide if you can't tell me. But hopefully it's playing a video and doesn't just say Google Meet. Romy, does it?
It does work well.
Okay, good. You can see it. It's working. Nice. On my little speaker one in Teams, all it says is Google Meet. The video doesn't play, so it's a little panic. Okay, good. So that was Google Meet. That's straightforward. Google Chat, as I've said already, is underutilized. You can go there directly, chat.google.com, but you can also get there straight from the Gmail app on the left-hand side. It's a great way of collaborating within other applications as well as using instant messaging. It is their equivalent of Slack or Teams. It is often not deployed and no one properly does it. You can still create groups, you can still create entire threaded conversations, you can do it just on email, and it's a nice way of collaborating with all the people involved. It's certainly quicker than sending an email, so don't go emailing people when it could have been a chat message simply because it was easier. As long as everyone knows it's there, they can find it up. And also it's worth saying that Gchat is fully searchable, just like the emails are. So if you did look for a chat message or an email and you can't determine which one's which, you can tell it where to find it and go from there as well. Obviously, you can send GIFs, you can send emojis, and you can turn that chat into a video call. I would say don't go sending them files. Instead, send links from Google Drive. We're doing Google Drive next. But certainly don't go attaching and uploading files to share them. All you're going to do is use more storage, create a lack of version control. The other thing, of course, because it's Google and it has Gemini built in, I'm getting tired of saying Gemini already, but it does have the prompted AI responses, which you would expect. So it will automatically prompt you to sound polite and professional until it learns how you sound really. But it's a good starting point. Google Drive, I do hope you are all using Google Drive to store your files. If not, message me and I will give you a nudge and a swift kick. Google Drive actually has two drives built into it. It has My Drive and Shared Drives, as the video is kindly demonstrating for us now. My Drive can still be shared out, but it is nowhere near as good for managing what I would say is company data. You really want to view shared drives as company things which belong to the whole organization, and My Drive are your personal files. Perhaps things are in progress, perhaps they aren't ready to go in, maybe it's a receipt, maybe it's whatever it may be, photos. Perhaps they don't live in Google Drive and Shared Drive. You can definitely do it that way though, manage your permissions correctly, be aware of the different permissions, so viewer, editor, commenter, can download, can't download, or being able to share if they can access it with the link. So when it comes to right-clicking and sharing on a file, that's a good way to look at it. When things are in Google Drive properly, you can start commenting and it automatically builds version control, even with non-Google format files. So whenever a different version is uploaded, you can click onto it, go into the version. It's like a clock with an arrow going backwards on it. Certainly used to be, and it will show you all the different versions you can scroll through. So every time there is a change, you can go in there and say, actually, that wasn't quite right. We'll dial it back, we'll roll backwards, and we'll go through those. It is also more confusing if something is shared with you, like an entire folder. You can go into that folder, find it in your shared with me section, which I think is the fourth button down. You can right click on that folder and click add shortcut to My Drive. If you start doing that one, your navigation becomes a lot easier. I have a lot of people sharing folders with me. I can then organize those shortcuts so that I can navigate to them a lot easier, and it will sync to my computer if I'm using Google File Stream. If you don't do that, then every time you've got to try and search it, or you feel like, I know that was shared with me, I can't find where it is, it's probably because it's in the shared with me section. Final point is that Google thinks it knows you better than you do. So every time you open to Google Drive, the default view will be perhaps some recent activity. It will probably shift to, we know that someone else has opened this file, and you last looked at this one, and you can't always find the easiest navigation. They've also very recently, within the last few weeks, changed it, or if you are within, oh, I went too far. Stop it, go back. There we go. If you are within Gmail and you click into Drive, it actually opens it as a separate application if it's running on your Windows machine. That's quite annoying. You can still get there by going to drive.google.com. There we go. I did get to say it before Gemini took over. So Google Gemini is Google's AI. Google probably was at a time the leading company on AI. They have had it going for 15 years or so, they acquired Google DeepMind, and Google's AI, of course, was originally autofill in Google search. So it's big, it's deep, and it's very fleshed out. That being said, it is not as good as other AI engines for content generation, certainly can't do image generation as well. It's an odd one. And also, they increased everyone's charges to Google Workspace by rolling Gemini into it. I think that happened in April. Pricing changes came in June or July. So your bills to Google will go up if they haven't already. Maybe you're paying annually, but all the Google pricing went up when they rolled Gemini into it. We found out when the prices went up. We did not get warned as resellers, unfortunately. That's how Google operates. I would argue it isn't quite ready. It's not quite there for a lot of things. A lot of stuff it does well. So if you're working in Google Sheets, Gemini is fantastic at solving formulae, at proposing changes. If you want it to generate content, let's say you're running a slideshow, and you want it to find something to create it for. We didn't do that, by the way. But in Google Slides, it can create entire content or presentations for you. If you want it to recommend best practices and suggestions, it can do that too. But it's not as good as a chatbot. It's not as good as a prompt. It certainly doesn't work as well as an accountability partner. But you can just ask it questions. And a good place to start is, how can I get the most out of Gemini? How can I get the most out of this service? So I would recommend, if you want to find out how it works, the Gemini symbol is that star. You'll find it at the top right of pretty much every Google app. Click into it, ask it the questions of what you can do, how you want to do things. It will effectively reduce your load on IT and hopefully make things a bit easier for you. So any problems on Gemini, obviously let me know, but it isn't the be all and end all, but it's a good starting point. I would say it's currently a bit disappointing how far ahead Google were in AI to suddenly drop back and started losing the race to agents like ChatGPT. With regards to Google Docs, hopefully you're all using it. Hopefully you are collaborating in Google Docs. You don't have to use Gemini for that. The little video here is very keen for you to do so. You could get it. It's a good starting point, perhaps. Unless you're very familiar with Gemini, what you may find is that it creates a template and you have to spend half your time undoing it because they weren't necessarily the tools you're used to. For those of us who grew up learning how to do word processing on Microsoft Word, as opposed to in Google Docs, it's quite refreshing to be able to move things where you want them. It's much more intuitive to produce documents and create them in a more stylized way. It certainly works better for collaboration. You can have up to 100 people very comfortably working on the same document, which is really nice and really tidy. There's also a lot of templates put into Google Docs that people don't use. You can find the templates at the top, or again, you can ask Gemini. I'm trying to give any really useful tips which exist exclusively in Docs, and to be honest with you, it's just the collaboration piece for me. If I'm working on any file and I want more than one person to see it or work on it, I will share with them for commenting. It tags up the comments much more intuitively than Windows and Word ever did. And similarly, if we've got to produce a large picture or proposal, I might get a couple of the team on it at the same time, and we can all see each other typing and working concurrently. It's a much better way of working than anything else I've seen. And honestly, the same is true for Google Sheets. There's a little video here on how to create drop-down lists because everyone likes doing so. But there's an awful lot of things you could do in it. It can do pretty much all the same things as Microsoft Excel, with some limitation on macro once you start drifting to sort of additional sheet integration and lookups. But it's still there. You just have to ask effectively Gemini how to do it without getting too stuck into additional apps like AppSheet. It was very little, I believe, apart from those. It can do H and V lookup. It can do pretty much everything that people will want it to. I'm trying to think of anything else special. And it'll style it as well. Same thing as Google Docs. You've still got the collaboration, you've got the chat, you've got the comments, and of course, you've got everyone's favorite AI assistant sat there hassling you as well. Other point, much like I said on Slides and Meet, anything else, you do have the right-hand sidebar, which you can open up, add a calendar, turn it automatically into a video call. At the top right, you can click on the camera icon. It will launch a meeting straight within there so that you can collaborate in Google Meet through any file. And I really want, hopefully, everyone to start shifting from using the Excel and Word to using Sheets and Docs if you aren't already. It should be your go-to. They are quicker, they are lighter, they use zero storage as well. If you are worried about your storage in Google Drive, Sheets, Docs, and Slides count as zero, so it doesn't ever contribute towards it, and you've no need to export them or do anything with it. You can also, if ever you need to, if you're an accountant, as is often the way, export those Google Sheets and Docs as Word format or as Excel. So you can do File, Download as, and it'll actually give you the option to export it in the rival companies, which you don't get the other way around. You don't get the option to import an Excel sheet, but if you open it, it will convert it automatically, but the formatting will change. So you do have the option within Google to download in the other formats if you need. And the equivalent of PowerPoint, what we're using today, is Google Slides. Much like everything else, you can use templates. You can use all of the ones in there. It works like PowerPoint. There is no need for me to tell you how PowerPoint works. And it is a very similar feel. It's what we're using today anyway. It's what we use for all our presentations. It does the same stuff. You've got speaker notes, you've got transitions, you've got animations, all of the bits you would expect. It does include a couple of add-ons which you don't necessarily see elsewhere. Uses Gemini, you can present directly from slides, and you can even launch a meeting directly from it as well. What is nice sometimes, if you don't quite know where to start, but you have the content, you can actually upload a file into Gemini. Let's say you have a Word document or a presentation that you want to turn into, a proposal you want to turn into a presentation. You could upload that into Gemini, say turn this into a slideshow for me, and it will give it a reasonable effort. It's not ideal because, as I say, Gemini sometimes leaves some to be demanded, but it does the job anyway. So give that a go as well. How long's left on that video? I'm not watching a 5-minute video to talk about PowerPoint. We're moving on. Google Forms, if you are using anything to collect information, so SurveyMonkey or Microsoft Forms or any of those things we are sending it out, use Google Forms instead. It will automatically capture the results, collate them into an Excel sheet or a Google Sheet, of course. You can choose branching, so it can have if this, then that. If they choose option A, follow up with this question, option B, take it to this one. Make certain questions mandatory, do all of the things you would expect. Now, it's never going to be a full tool for, let's say, filling in an entire site audit or survey. I know some technicians or engineers who have tried to do the same, but as long as it's not too complex, you can use it to quite some extent. I don't know of a limit on the number of questions either, but there probably is one. I've just never reached it. So again, use Google Forms. They're much quicker to set up than you might think. They stylize quite nicely. You can brand them really easily as well. Google Calendar. Two things on Google Calendar that people never do properly. The first one is creating shared calendars. You create a calendar, press add, like the video is showing you, create a new calendar and share it out with the right people. This will also sync down to Outlook if you need it to, and you can let people subscribe to it online to populate events into theirs. It's a really nice way of broadcasting those things to people what's going on. The other bit that people don't do is they don't turn their calendar into a booking calendar. So for us, we create bookable links for our calendar. If you try and book a meeting with me, I send you a link to it. I've actually got 4, depending on where I heard from you, and that helps me track and record things. When you book a meeting on that calendar, it also sends an invite to Romy in case I'm not there. It sends us a summary and it adds a Google Meeting link. So all through a single page, we don't need to use something like Calendly or bookings.com or booking.com, but those sorts of tools. Doodle's another one. You just don't need to. You don't need to use a separate app. It's built straight into Calendar. So you can create a bookable page. If you don't know how to do it, 3 tips for you. First, ask me. I can pull it up. Secondly, ask Gemini. Third, Google it, hilariously. But you can create bookable links and they share out quite nicely, just like Calendly. So you don't have to pay for those third parties. You've already got it within Workspace. Google Contacts. Another massively underutilized app. It's probably taken for granted. It does 2 things nicely that people always forget about and don't use. So my first one is if you go to other contacts, if you go to contacts and go to other contacts in there, what that is that's everybody you have ever emailed or any email you've received. You can select all of those, and then there's a select them all, but the little drop downs, and there's a little plus button, and it will add them as contacts. If you do that, it will now sync to your autofill when you're typing out an email address to somebody automatically in Gmail or even in Outlook. On your phone or whatever, it will start syncing those as contacts. Additionally, the third button down, you can see it on the screen at the moment, is merge and fix. What if you click on that, is it finds all of those different contacts and it said, oh, it looks like you've got 3 Romy Loziers. I'm going to assume they're the same person. Do you want to merge them? It's a great way of condensing it and bringing it down. It's fairly accurate. Just be aware that it will also, of course, try and capture things like accounts at, info at, sales at, and that can get a little bit complicated depending on how they're set up on the other person's side. Similarly, of course, you can add all of the CRM notes, you can put contextual details in there, you can add phone numbers, you can do all sorts of pieces as well. And Google has recently rolled out, started to roll out Google Phone, finally coming to the UK, so you can have your VoIP integrated with Google as well. It's still a bit touch and go, it's not quite ready for full market, but they've been doing it in the US for about 5 years now. So they're getting quite comfortable with it, and we're getting towards having it in the UK, so you can have your VoIP hosted there too. Google Drawings is never used because you can never get to it easily. It does not show up on the list of apps on the right hand side. You can insert drawings, which is more how they prefer you to do it, as this person's showing here. You can insert drawing new, and then you can create one as a separate pop-up. But if you want to go there directly, you can go to drawings.google.com. Again, it has to be drawings with an S. If you type drawing.google.com, it will say this page doesn't exist, which is quite annoying. I do hope I've got that the right way around. If not, try it the other way. But it doesn't show up in the apps. Easiest way to actually use drawings, like they've just demonstrated there, within docs, sheets, or slides, insert new drawing, create new, go to town. The reason it's useful is not as Microsoft Paint. It's because it has what's called connectors, which means if I have two boxes in a flowchart and I connect a line between those two, it will keep them connected as I move those boxes around. Microsoft Visio is the equivalent, but really useful for doing flowcharts, really useful for those kind of tools. If you are creating organizational charts or anything as a process, Google Drawings is probably the best way to do it. Nice and simple. Right, before we fly on to the other pieces, and before we talk about how to stay secure, there's a couple of apps we probably need to run through because I don't think we've got them coming up. So Google App Sheet and Google App Script are the two I need to talk about. App Sheet and App Script work very similarly. They are linked. They are very Gemini embedded, and they are a code-free way of creating your own app. If you find that you are using a spreadsheet and it isn't quite delivering what you need, you can create an app sheet. I know that there are massive enterprises who lean into them to create their own solutions. Travis Perkins is probably the best known example I have. All of their inventory, warehouse management, stock control, leave requests, HR, hiring processes, and service desk for IT is handled through Google App Sheets. And it is stuff that they've created without a development team in-house. The way that works, they go to App Sheet on the drop down, ask what they want to achieve, and they go from there. Now, it is worth checking how many apps sheet credits you get within Business Standard versus Business Plus and Enterprise, but it's there as an option to explore if you find yourself running into the limitations of these apps. And a final one to sort of shout out as these unknown apps would be Google Jamboard. Jamboard is their whiteboard equivalent used for collaboration with a physical piece of equipment. They do actually sell Google hardware to support this. It's really useful in education. Outside of that, don't do it. So if you're a school looking to Jamboards, they're quite good. I think they're still supported, still in use. Similarly, if you are running large meeting spaces, you can use Google Meet hardware, which fully integrates. So you have camera tracking and center speakers. So they do have Google hardware as well. But I just wanted to say, if you are already at these limits within Google applications, have a look at Google App Sheet. It is definitely where the most value can come from. It's definitely one which isn't being used enough. They have additional tools like BigQuery and Admin Center and security pieces, but they're probably drifting into more main enterprise. You're probably need dedicated teams to be running them. And you're drifting more into what's called Google Cloud as opposed to Google Workspace, which are distinct. If you want me to go into those, put it in the chat of the questions and I will do. But yeah, Google Cloud is definitely distinct from Google Workspace, which is what we're trying to focus on here. So in terms of how to actually stay secure, the clues are there, but I'll talk you through them anyway. As I've said already, do not download files. When you are downloading files, you're creating risk. You're creating the ability for a file to go missing. It is stored on your machine, which is always going to be less secure than storing it within Google. And it allows other people, frankly, to mess them up and create different versions. We've all seen that email where something comes through as, final drawing version 6B, final signed off approved new. Ridiculous. Much easier instead to keep all those consolidated into a single file where you're collaborating to create the latest version. It's much easier. Make sure that two-factor authentication is not just enabled but enforced. This means that people accessing the things you've shared with must also sign up for two-factor to log in. Google is very good at security. I say that deadly serious. Actually, they are very locked down. There are very, very few examples of a true Google breach. I don't think their environment has ever directly been breached, but I do think there have been users who have been compromised because they didn't have two-factor. So do set those up. And as a side note on two-factor, text is fine, but it's nowhere near as good as using the authenticator apps. It's quite easy to actually change someone's two-factors code. I won't go into the entire method of it, but you can do it in an evening really comfortably and gain access before someone even wakes up. Do understand your permissions when you're sharing things. You don't want to give edit permissions to someone who could only view. If in doubt, stick with commenter and check whether you want to have those sharing permissions time out. So you can actually set it to expire after a fixed period of time rather than leaving it open forever, which is definitely a much safer way to go. As a final piece, if you actually go inside the admin center, again, click on the grid at the top, go to admin, you can go to insights in there and it will tell you all that's going on and it will give you some suggestions for your security. That can be how many externally shared files you have, which is always worth reviewing. Password security, it won't tell you the passwords, but it will tell you their length and their security and strength. And just a couple of tools like that, as well as audit logs, how many emails we're getting in and out, what accounts have been inactive for a while to save a bit of cache, those kind of pieces. So do have a look into your admin center and security as well. In terms of how to manage your files and collaborate with your team, pretty straightforward. I think I've hammered this point home enough. But what I really want to say is to use those integrated apps. It's where people aren't really getting the most value. It's by using that sidebar on the right, expanding into it, and going into those additional ones. You can use third party. They don't have to be Google apps. If you find that you are using MailChimp an awful lot, or if you are using additional CRM, you can probably integrate that directly with, say, contacts, and you can start to roll those out. And you can start pulling the right information so that your MailChimp list, say, automatically populates with your app sheet or vice versa. Could be that you want your data from your Google form to automatically pull through to your CRM. You can start accessing it. Other thing, obviously, is when you share things out, just check them, check what's going on, check that people can add things, check that you've got the right permissions in place. All these obvious points that I'm saying over and over again, because I'm tired of having to remind people to collaborate. Other than that, we'll dive into some Q&A. I'm sure Romy's got a few questions coming through directly, as well as what's in the chat, and I will try and answer them for you.
No worries. Thank you very
I
much,
hope that made sense.
It did. Thank you. Alison is asking about Google Drive. Is there a way to change the owner of a folder in my drive?
Okay. Hi, Alison. That's a complicated one, hilariously. It sounds like it should be easy. Easiest way to do that is if the user is still there, yes, they can right click, they can manage the share permissions, and above editor, if they are the owner, they can set somebody else as the owner. What you can't do, of course, is promote yourself to owner. It has to be done by the person who's the current owner. If you're able to do it the way around, things can go horribly wrong quite quickly, as you can imagine. So no, the owner is the one who has to set the new owner. The other way around that, if the person is no longer there and their account still exists, if you remove that account in the admin center, when you merge them across, you can choose to allocate a new owner for any files in their Google Drive, even unshared ones. And that's how you force that through as well. As a final point, there shouldn't be many files which are sat in your drive with an owner. If there is the point where things are being shared like that, they should really be sat in shared drives. At that point, they're owned by the organization, by the entire workspace, not by an individual. But no, it isn't as smooth as I want to make myself owner for a couple of security reasons. That just isn't the case, but the other person can set you as one. Hope that helps.
Thank you. I've got another question from Sarah asking, in Google Drive, can someone be given access to a file without having access to the folder it sits in?
Yep, absolutely they can. Easiest way to do that is within the file itself, but you can also right click and press share. You can share out that specific file. If it's information for a customer, it is often useful to have a customer folder, however, and within that customers folder, this is in shared drives, have a separate folder for shared with client name. And then anytime you want to collaborate on a single resource, you can put it into there. But you can also share a single file out, right click share, manage those permissions, let it expire, and just monitor who it's going with. I should say, if it's sharing internally or even else, you can share out with a group of people. So if it is a group of users, you can share out to the entire group rather than each individual name. So if you know internally, for example, we have accounts at, which goes to a few people, or orders at, which goes to a few people. I therefore don't have to add those people individually. I can just add the group and they'll all get access. So you can share out to both. But no, you can share files directly, not just the groups and folders themselves.
Nice. Another question, can you go through again how to make your calendar bookable again? Like, how do you do?
Of course I can. That's always the challenging one. Let me see if I could remember how to do it. Yes, sure I can. So from my side, it's different. Best way I can do that, I'm trying to work out how I can do it without sharing my calendar. So bear with me while I try and
I would like
hide all
to,
of my things
while
so
you
it's
do
blank.
that, I just wanted to add, I don't know if you did add that, but in Google Meet, basically when you use as well Google Meet, there is now AI, the Gemini is included with Google Meet, and now you can take notes for you during the meeting. So that's something to be aware of. When you go into Google Meet, you have to activate it. You're gonna see it just gives you a little pop-up window when you go on it. But basically what it does take the meeting notes for you during the meeting. And then after, when the meeting is over, you receive everything in an email with all the details of the meeting notes. And it's very accurate and very good. It's why we normally use Google Meet as, we call it like video calls and things like that, because that takes the notes for us. So it's a very, very good thing to use. If you have the access to that, do so. Go for it, John. I hope you found the way to do
Okay, so, well, I
it.
can, but I've got to make sure it's the same on everyone else's, and this is the
Yes.
challenge, okay? So it could be because I've already got them, which is the battle here. But on my side, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly stop sharing and share this page out as well. Hopefully this works. Sometimes these things don't. I will share out this screen. Hopefully you can now see my calendar. If you can't, please yell and wave. But can you see my calendar there?
Yes.
Perfect. So on the left-hand side here, we have my calendars, other calendars. I have thousands of calendars, as you can imagine. But there's also this section here called booking pages. You can click on that one and you can create a new appointment schedule. What you can do here is you can set your availability. So you can say, I'm not available at certain days and times. You can name it. You can say how long each appointment can do, and you can have as many of these as you would like. You can say what your window needs to be. It needs to be X number of days in advance. It can't be this many time minimum. I don't want someone booking something 10 minutes from now. That's a nightmare. I can say when it's available. I can say which calendars it can't conflict with. So for me, I always make sure it doesn't conflict with my time off. That would be quite annoying. But I also had a couple of other personal calendars as well. And I can add in co-hosts in here. So that's how I do it. I use the booking page. I don't believe there's another way of doing it easily. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any other way of doing those. I'm sure that I found a separate way before, but it looks like it's gone missing. So if you don't have this booking page button, do let me know and I will find another way of forcing it through for you. But you should have booking pages on the left-hand side, and that's where you can add it. If it's not there, drop us an email and I'll tell you how to do it. But it's not done through other calendars or anything either. It's just a separate button.
The
It could
recording,
be.
sorry.
Hmm?
No, if Alison wants to watch that again, you will have the recording because
I will
you
do.
might
It
want to.
could be that
Yeah.
it's only on business standard, not in business basic or something like those. So I just need to double check why it isn't there. I can see you haven't got it. I see your chat. I will sort it out for you and I'll find out why on earth Google is being mean to you. We will solve this riddle. But there will be a good reason. I
I've
doubt it's
got
personal. Go on.
I've got another question about where do shortcuts appear when created in the Google Drive? Where can we find the list of keyboard shortcuts for that?
Okay. So two different questions on those ones. Where do shortcuts appear when created in Google Drive? If you go to, depends what you mean by shortcut. I'm guessing that's a shortcut to something shared with you. So the way that would work is you go to shared with me, you right click on the folder. So this is something where someone else has shared it to you. Go to shared with me on the left hand side. All of the files are in there. Go to the file or folder you're looking for, right click it, and click add shortcut to my drive. That then goes to the root directory of my drive. So if you click into my drive, there's always a list of files. It's where all the stuff ends up and it will be within there, and then you can start moving it. So you might have to scroll down to find it. Hopefully you haven't got thousands. If you do have thousands of files in there and they're no longer used or they're old or they're antiquated, create a folder in there called archive or old. My dog's going mental in the background, apologies. But create a folder called archive, just merge all the crap into it. It's the easiest way, and then you'll be able to find the new shared links quite easily. But it should appear directly in that one. In terms of where you can find a list of keyboard shortcuts, I will, how can I best do those? I can post it into the chat here, but there's so many that it would be kind of, you'd drown out the noise. I personally find asking Google Gemini is the best way. If I'm in Gmail, click on Gemini, can you give me 20 useful keyboard shortcuts? You do the same in every app. The same, I should say, a lot of the same shortcuts work for things like Google Sheets and Docs. So Control C, Control V, Control Z, Control X, which are sort of hotkeys for copy, paste, save, those kind of things. They still work. So Control F is still find, Control H is still replace. But in terms of additional shortcuts, ask Gemini, ask it what you want the shortcut for, so that you're not bombarded with a load of nonsense. That'll really help tidy it up.
Also, one last question, I think, or if anyone have any, please drop them. But can Google Calendar send automatic reminders or notifications to my team before a meeting? And how do I set that up?
Ooh. So the short answer is yes. And the easiest answer, of course, is going to be to ask Gemini. But you can set it up in reminders for scheduling. You open to the event and you should be able to go to reminders, and it will say notify people ahead of time. If that isn't an option for you, because I can't remember if mine's still a plugin or a third party. You can also tell Gemini, I want to do this, how can I do it? And it may have to be done something through AppSheet, where it will create automatic reminders to be sent out to you. But I'm pretty confident it sends reminders. I'm pretty confident that's a
I
feature in
think you
there
have
already.
to. I think you have to tick a box in the calendar. I remember.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
memory of it as well. I just don't
Mm.
have it in front of me. Let me have a look. I will tell you immediately. Da, 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 da. There is a reminders button. Where is it? Where are you?
There is someone.
Alison sorted out one. That's good. No, there is one. I just can't remember where exactly it is. But yeah, if in doubt, ask Gemini. But there is a way to do it. I just can't remember exactly where it is. It might be in the original settings or setup page.
Mm.
I'm really glad Alison's found how to create the appointment schedule. Yes. In fact, if she wants to share her screen and tell the rest of us, that would be no.
Take over.
Yeah, it is good. But yes, you can set reminders. Just build it in. Any others?
Brilliant. No, I think that's it for now. Yeah, if you have any other, please drop them now. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much done. I don't know if you have to add anything else, John, you can think of you haven't
No,
mentioned.
not at all from my side. I would say there's loads of ways to get the most out of these. It's sometimes easier to work out what problems you're trying to solve,
Yeah.
especially with Google. With Microsoft, it's a bit different because they hide so many apps, but with Google, it's fairly open. But
Mm.
it's quite difficult to know how best to use the tools until there's a specific use case. So if you do come across, oh, I wish there was a way to insert whatever here, chances are I can point you in the right direction and at least advise which app or which solution it could be. Yeah, that's one thing I'd say on that one. Come up with the problem you're trying to solve rather than throwing yourself into a new tool. Come up with the problem first and find a solution. And of course, we put our contact details there as well. You can email Romy or call her, and eventually she'll put you in touch with me, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, brilliant. But thank you so much. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll probably do another webinar in 6 weeks about, I don't know what subject yet, but
It'll
it's gonna be.
be security or Microsoft on that one, I think, and then
Yeah.
we'll switch back. Yeah, and then we're also due to do one on digital transformation as well.
Yes, we certainly do. Yeah, we got quite a few coming before the end of the year. So yeah,
Me too. That'll be
stay
fun.
stay tuned.
Perfect.
So
And
thank
similarly,
you.
if you'd like any particular topics covered, also get in touch with us. We run these all the
Yeah,
time for free, so just let us know what you want covering.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the recording of that session will be sent to everyone. So if you want to rewatch any bits that you don't remember, please do so. And yeah, if you need any help, please shout. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.